Welcome to the critique.
Hey there.
Today we're looking at a script for a commentary video. It's about that whole controversy with the conservative influencers, Elijah Schaffer and Sarah Stock.
Right, the infidelity and hypocrisy allegations within the TradCon movement.
Exactly. So let's just get right to work.
Sounds good. I've read through it, and there's, a lot of passion here. The writer really feels strongly about the whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. Which is a good starting point. So let's dive into our first big observation.
Okay.
The script's narrative momentum is it's significantly disrupted by these personal anecdotes that don't really serve the main argument.
You're talking about the Sydney trip.
I am 100% talking about the Sydney trip. The whole section where the narrator is sitting by Darling Harbor.
For, what was it, 2 or 3 hours?
2 to 3 hours, yes, and eating lollipops. The script actually says, eating my lollipops because I love lollipops, the sugar, probably got a bad sugar addiction.
Yeah, that part was, it was interesting. I mean, I get what they were trying to do, set up this whole people-watching metaphor.
Right.
But the cost of those details, it feels really high.
That's the core weakness right there. The whole tangent is just way too long, way too specific. 1 minute we're talking about really heavy stuff, spousal abuse, divorce, repentance.
Super serious topics.
And the next, we've got this jarring pivot to a 3-hour lollipop session and a joke about sugar addiction. It's just massive tonal whiplash.
It really does water down the urgency of the whole expose, doesn't it?
Completely.
You're in this headspace of moral outrage, and suddenly you're picturing the narrator with a bag of candy. It just pulls you right out of the story.
It breaks the spell. So the suggestion here is pretty clear. You have to cut out the purely personal trivia, unless it's serving as a direct, tight metaphor for what you're criticizing.
And even if that people-watching theme is essential, you've got to pivot back to the subjects immediately. You can't just linger on vacation habits.
So here's a concrete example. I just cut the lollipops and the sugar addiction stuff entirely.
Yeah, that adds nothing.
And for the Sydney story itself, just shrink it. Make it one sentence. I was recently people-watching in Sydney, observing how much a public face can differ from private reality. Boom.
And then right back to Sarah Stock and Elijah Schaffer.
Exactly. You get to keep that kind of detective framing, but you lose all the distracting candy.
Mm-hmm. It maintains the speaker's authority.
Okay, moving on to the second point. This one is all about the voice of the piece.
Okay.
The authority of the moral critique is really undermined by the frequent use of juvenile insults right alongside these really serious accusations.
Yeah, I struggled with this a bit. The script has this very, God told you so kind of stance.
It's referencing the Bible, spiritual laws.
And then in the middle of all that,
you get some pretty casual name-calling.
Exactly.
The script uses the word dingbats multiple times.
Mm-hmm. And sissy fit.
Sissy fit, crash out, welcome to showbiz. It's just this jarring mix.
The word dingbats it's a choice. It feels like something you'd say on a playground,
Right. And if these people allegedly destroyed their families, dingbat just feels so small. It really trivializes the harm.
It absolutely does. It makes the narrator sound less like a serious commentator and more like a petty rival or a gossipy teenager. If your goal is to expose deep moral failure, the language has to match that.
So what's the fix? You don't want it to be dry and academic.
No, not dry, but elevated. The suggestion is to adopt a more, let's say, clinical or somber vocabulary that actually fits the gravity of the stance you're trying to take.
Can we walk through a few specific examples?
Sure. So instead of dingbats, use descriptors that actually mean something.
Like what?
Like performative figures, or hypocrites, or contradictory influencers. Those words have weight. They describe the what, not just, throwing a soft insult. I like that. Okay, what about sissy fit?
That's gotta go. It's dismissive, it's dated. Describe the behavior instead. He's not having a sissy fit. He's displaying defensive volatility.
Or an inability to accept accountability.
Exactly. That sounds like a diagnosis, not a schoolyard taunt.
And welcome to showbiz?
You just rephrase it. This highlights the performative nature of the influencer industry. It says the same thing, but it sounds analytical, not just cynical.
That's a crucial distinction. It moves the whole thing from a reaction video into the realm of cultural commentary.
Precisely, which brings us to our third critique, and it's closely related.
Okay?
The script really struggles to distinguish its objective, a moral lesson on hypocrisy, from the very gossip it says it doesn't want to share.
Ah, yeah. The classic trap of this genre. I noticed the narrator even says something like, I wasn't actually going to make a video. It's an immense amount of gossip.
But then what happens?
Then we get a whole lot of unverified information.
Exactly. The weakness is that contradiction. You can't say you're above gossip and then immediately detail things like the consensus on X or Milo Yiannopoulos' leaked audio.
The phrase, the consensus, I guess, on X is just, it's so weak.
It totally undermines the whole argument. And I know some people think that acknowledging the gossip label protects them from criticism.
But it just has the opposite effect.
It sounds defensive, like you know you shouldn't be talking about it, but you just can't help yourself. So the suggestion here is to frame the whole discussion strictly around the public contradiction.
So focus only on what they preach versus what's actually known public.
Yes. The argument needs to be, here is their public standard, and here's their admitted failure. Not, here is what everyone is saying. It's about evidence, not hearsay.
So, for example, the whole bit with Milo's audio.
It's shaky ground. Quoting Milo, who is a whole other can of worms, to say Elijah seriously needs help, that's all based on third-party leaks.
So what's the actionable fix there?
Instead of quoting the audio, just focus on the verifiable facts. Say something like, Schaffer preached traditional marriage while engaging in behavior that destroyed his own. You don't need a leaked tape to make that point.
And that disclaimer at the beginning, I wasn't going to make this video.
Cut it. Just cut it. Start with confidence. Tell the audience why this matters. Don't apologize for your own content before you even start.
That's great advice. Okay, so now what about the external material? The Matt Walsh clip.
Right. Our fourth critique, the inclusion of the Matt Walsh segment. It just lacks enough connective tissue to the specific Schaffer and Stock situation.
I remember that part. Walsh is saying he'd rather be stabbed in the face than go to a cocktail hour. It's a very colorful clip.
It's very Matt Walsh for sure, but the weakness is how it's used. The script just says Matt's right and then moves on to a general point about scandals. The connection between Walsh-hating parties and Schaffer's infidelity is, well, it's pretty loose.
It's implied, not stated. It feels like the writer wants to show that the good conservatives are the ones who avoid that whole party scene.
And that's a fine point to make, but you have to actually make it. The suggestion is to explicitly connect Walsh's avoidance of after-parties to the environment where these moral failures happen.
Ah, so you make his clip the evidence for a safeguard argument.
That's it. It becomes a strategic point about temptation, not just a funny clip about social anxiety.
So much stronger.
Yes, so an actionable example would be to say explicitly, Walsh's refusal to attend these events isn't just a quirk. It's a safeguard against the very environment that fostered the Schaffer-Stock affair.
That ties it all together. It answers the so what question.
And then you can use that clip to pivot into a real discussion about boundaries in that industry instead of just using it as, a reaction segment.
You're turning a clip into an actual argument. Love that.
Okay, finally, let's talk about the narrator. This is our fifth critique, the self-defense tangent.
Ah, yes. The director J part?
It's a whole section where the narrator seems to need to justify themselves. They say, I am who I say that I am. My nickname in high school was Director J.
It felt really insecure to me. This pivot where they say, I've made mistakes, but at least I try. It happens before the critique is even done. It just shifts the focus entirely from the subject to the narrator.
And that's the weakness. It's a huge distraction. The audience is there to hear about Schaffer and Stock, not the narrator's high school nickname. By defending yourself against an attack nobody has made, you actually invite people to scrutinize you.
That's a great point. It's like, why do you have to tell me you're being real? It makes me wonder if you're not.
Exactly. The lady doth protest too much. So the suggestion is really simple. Remove the self-defense entirely.
Just get rid of it.
Your analysis should stand on its own. You don't need to give a resume of your own honesty.
So just cut the Director J backstory completely.
Gone. It serves no purpose.
And what if the writer feels they need that contrast between them and the hypocrites?
Then keep it brief and thematic, not personal. You could say something like, unlike these figures who curated a false persona, true leadership requires transparency.
That keeps the focus on the lesson.
Correct. It keeps the focus outward on the main point, not inward on the speaker.
Okay, this has been a really thorough breakdown. We've hit on structure, tone, logic.
We have. So to recap for our listener, first, get rid of the Sydney and lollipop anecdotes. They just kill your momentum. Second, elevate your language. Ditch the schoolyard insults like dingbats to maintain your moral authority.
Third, Make your external clips work for you. Don't just drop in a Matt Walsh quote. Connect it to your argument. And fourth, please, cut the defensive self-justification.
And, critically, distinguish your moral stance from gossip. Rely on verifiable contradictions, not on what the consensus is.
So the actionable takeaway is really for the writer to decide what they are. Are you a commentator or are you a gossip columnist?
That's the core of it.
Because if you're a commentator, you have to focus on the implications of the behavior, not just the drama.
Exactly.
We invite the listener to trim the fat, elevate the tone, and send the script back. There's a really strong argument buried. Yeah, it just needs to be excavated from under the lollipops and the name calling. I would love to see a version of this that is half as long and twice as punchy.
Me too. Thank you for listening to The Critique. We look forward to seeing your improved work.
Keep writing.
Goodbye.